Thank you for your attendance. We will now begin Session 8, Resilience, Promoting Greenery. May I kindly invite all speakers to come up to the stage. And please take your seat. Now let me introduce our moderator and distinguished speakers. The moderator is Executive Director, Mr. Togo Uchida, ICLEI Japan Office. The distinguished speakers are Mr. Richard Hills, Chairperson, Policy Planning and Development Committee, Auckland Council. Ms. Hui-Mei Ju, Director General of New Taipei. Mr. Maurice Sprinjukus, Vice Mayor of Riga. Ms. Keltu Vukus, Mayor of Taltu. And Mr. Stefano Russo, Mayor of Turin. Thank you very much for your attendance. And now, Mr. Uchida, if you please.
Thank you very much. And I'm here again for this moderation. So last session, we were focusing on decarbonization. And this session, we are talking about greenery and how that could contribute to resilience. And so I think I've done my introduction in the previous session, so I'll skip that. So I will proceed as the same as the last session. So we will have a presentation from the speakers first, and then we will go to the Q&A. So without further ado, I would like to switch my microphone to you first, Mr. Richard from Auckland. Please, the floor is yours.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Konnichiwa. Hello, everyone, and kia ora koutou katoa from our Indigenous people, the Māori people of New Zealand. Today, I'm an Auckland councillor and also the chair of the Policy Planning and Development Committee. Our city, Auckland, is a city of 1.7 million people. We're a fantastic, beautiful city, but also have our challenges, as many of you do in this city. So 2023, as many of your cities are facing, we've had one of our worst ever weather events in New Zealand's history. So we had about a month's or maybe a whole summer's worth of rain in about 4 hours. So about 400 millimeters of rain fell in about 4 hours. So it's pretty considerable after the wettest year we have had. And we had about 10,000 homes significantly damaged, $2 billion worth of public infrastructure. And we've purchased about 1,200 of the worst affected homes. We've also done an urban heat assessment in 2024. So both climate is affecting, obviously, floods, as we know, rainfall, but also in our summers in our urban areas. So you can see with the red there, the darker the colors is where we've got the most concrete, the most homes, the most urban development. So to deal with some of that, I've been leading with our teams at Council, Te Tarakia Tāwhiri, our climate plan, the urban Ngāhere strategy. Those are the two that I'm focusing on here. In our city streets, we've decided to, with the urban Ngāhere, the urban forest plan, we're trying to aim for 30% tree coverage across Auckland to reduce flooding, to improve air quality, but also to improve the shade in our cities. So if you want to look at that street, and that is it today. So a couple of years later, we're adding native trees to bring biodiversity back to our city centre, but also to provide that shade in hot times, but also to soak up that water. This is a significant street in our city, a waterfront street where the port is. It was 5 or 6 lanes wide. We made a significant change about 4 or 5 years ago. You can see there 200 large native trees, 20 rain gardens, 51 gardens, and what it's actually done economically improved the city as well. So it's more resilient, it's more shaded, it's protected from the heat, but it's also encouraging the hospitality in our region and more economic activity. It's also reduced the number of cars. So in this area, we had the worst air quality in the city, so the most highly pedestrianized and the worst air quality. So with the trees, the electric buses, and removing some of the cars from the city centre, we now have about 50% reduction in that, the poisonous gases that were harming our communities. We also have a program called Making Space for Water. So it's a blue-green network project right across the city, so several $100 million of infrastructure works. This is one that we did before the floods. So this used to be concreted. This stream or this river originally was in pipe stream. So we work with the local mana whenua, so the local iwi, the indigenous groups of this land, and our communities, working together to basically transform this place. And when the floods happened in 2023, for the first time ever, this area didn't flood at all. So that's just a bird's eye view of that. The sports field you see in the center there, that fills up in a 100-year flood. We took the sports field down about 2.5 meters, and then we've brought the original stream back to that area. And of course, it's great for the schools, walking and cycling, but it also means that biodiversity, we've got many native trees and species back in that area that would have used to have been there before people were there, before houses, but also has a significant effect on flooding, positive effect. So we're also planting, not only are we doing the street trees, so about 5,000 street trees a year, we're also doing planting in our regional parks. They're basically parks on the edges of our city. So over 10 years, we're looking to plant over 200 hectares of native vegetation, and that's in areas where currently it's grazed. There's farming land there. And we've also got it linked to sustainably linked bonds, which is helping our budget as well. So that's bringing the community together to plant that. Most of the planting we do is planted by volunteers, by our iwi groups, the indigenous groups, and communities. Essentially, what I'm trying to get across is what you all know. Trees have massive benefit to stormwater, to air quality, but also to making our city better, improving all our urban areas, but also our parks and regional parks. This is a whakatoki, or a proverb from our Māori community, which is ka ora te whenua, ka ora te tangata. When the land is well, the people are well. Kia ora. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richard. Very nice presentation, and on time. Thank you so much. I would like to move on to New Taipei City. Ms. Fumei Zhu, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. My name is Zhu Huimei, and I'm from the New Taipei City government. Today, I would like to share how New Taipei is working to become a more sustainable and resilient city. My topic is Green Movement, the second administration building and the Metropolitan Park. New Taipei City surrounds the Taipei City like a fried egg. New Taipei City is the egg white and the Taipei is the yolk. We have over 4 million people, 29 districts, and more than 20,000 square kilometers of land, making it a lively international city. Our city hall is in Banqiao. As the population grows, more people need public services. To meet this need, we are constructing a second administration building in Sanchong. This will help us provide better services and support located development. As seen from above, the second administration building connects to the Metropolitan Park through greenery, paths, and walking routes. This design helps improve the environment and reduce heat in the city. It also includes a sky park that connects the administration building with Central Park. This makes it easier for people to use public services and enjoy the space. The Metropolitan Park is located next to the second administration building, covering 424 hectares. It feels like an urban oasis. Every March, we hold the New Taipei Lifestyle Festival here. The festival brings music, art, and lifestyle together, inviting people to celebrate spring. Besides helping with flood control, this park is also a good place for people to relax and have fun. Every January, we hold the New Taipei Lantern Festival here, which attracts more than 5 million people. The MRT in Greater Taipei is clean and comfortable. Many international travelers call it the best metro in the world. The B2 level of our new building connects directly to a metro station, giving people an eco-friendly and energy-saving way to access public services. High-density U-bike station work well with our green public transport. Last year, our Mayor Hou Youyi inviting people to ride U-bikes in the Metropolitan Park to celebrate reaching over 300 million rides. This new landmark was designed by famous Japanese architect Paul Noritaka Tange. Its 3 key features are co-working offices and public services, landscape, greening, and inclusive space, and a smart center for disaster prevention and response. To make New Taipei City more digitally resilient, the building has 4 main smart centers: the Police Command Center, the Disaster Operations Center, the Smart Transport Center, and the Food Safety Center. Together, we protect the city's 5 safeties: road safety, public security, environmental safety, social security, and food safety. Since 2019, we have published 3 voluntary local reviews, and we will keep working toward New Taipei City goals for reaching net zero carbon by 2050. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fumei, for that presentation. Now I would like to move on to Vice Mayor from Liga, Mr. Maris. The floor is yours.
Good morning. It's really a pleasure to be here and to meet so many mayors and vice mayors and professionals who deal with the same issues, and it's really very valuable to share our experience and learn from each other. About green infrastructure in Riga. Riga is the capital of Latvia. It's an old town. This year we will celebrate 825 years of its birth. And Riga is also historical heritage site, UNESCO heritage site. So citizens of Riga value its architectural old buildings, and also we seek balance between green areas and city urban space, so that there is good equilibrium and people live in harmony. And in general, Riga is considered as a green city because about a quarter of its territory is covered with parks, forests, open nature areas, and people love it. And around 16.5% is different kind of waters. We have River Daugava, very wide river, around 800 meters wide. We have sea coastline and lakes and channels, because we are quite low altitude area, lots of waters too. However, green areas are not evenly distributed. So city center is kind of more urban, buildings, streets, when the periphery is rather green. So people want more greenery also in a city center. And as most of you mentioned beforehand, we have same challenges. Extreme rain, heat waves, green area accessibility. Not all people have too close the green areas. Everybody expects it to be rather some 300 meters away. And also, city development means somehow loss of biodiversity. People of Latvia are close to nature. They love pastures and wetlands, but you cannot see it always in city because everything is man-made and transformed, and we kind of want to bring back the closeness to the nature as much as it is possible in the city life. And we have set 4 goals: increasing the quantity and quality of the green spaces, strengthening climate resilience and flood risks, promoting biodiversity and improving management of green infrastructure. And city urban greening plan is kind of including all these goals. But one thing to be clear, and I will mention it later, is we need two to tango. So it's not just investment on part of the city, but it's also investment on the part of the citizens, because to have a green city, we need both sides to be active. Just some examples on what we have done recently. So we have a refurbished Daily Theatre Square. We have program of replanting trees. The trees is a very special thing in Riga because as an old city, you have to change buildings, refurbish territories, and sometimes the old buildings are kind of a problem. They stand in a place where you have to put the new tree. And we have made a very strict regulations that it's actually very costly to remove the tree. You have to pay the compensation to the municipal budget. And it is possible to replant the old tree, but this is tricky. You don't always get the result because trees don't like to be moved. So we create all kind of incentives. So if you reduce the green space, or you are forced to remove the old tree, that you have to put in place the compensatory mechanisms. The time is running short. Some new projects for the water management system. Instead of building the sewage water systems, we may make these green dam areas where the water is stored naturally. And incentives for the private, so property tax deduction for certified projects, and also citizen participation. So we give money, some little funds to the communities, to the people, so that they can issue their own projects and also do the greenery works themselves. Thank you, and I wish I can answer questions later on.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Maris, for that presentation. Yes, we will come back to that, some of the presentation, what you have mentioned there. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to move to Deputy Mayor, Ms. Kertu from Tartu.
Hi. At first, I would really like to thank all the organization team and the Tokyo Metropolitan Government for having this event here today and this chance to talk about Tartu as well on the stage. So we are not moving far from Riga that you heard just seconds ago. Tartu is the second biggest city in Estonia, and in the picture you can see one of our very, very popular experiments that we did in the center of the city for 5 summers. So what we did, we closed the street for all the cars, and we built there like a leisure area with different cultural events. So it was there for a month in the summer, and it was super, super popular. But I'm going to share you some insights about what we have done in Tartu to promote the greenery. But just for a background, if you haven't been to Tartu, you are most welcome to do it. We are a university town. We have lots of green areas and lots of things we are really, really proud of. And one thing that I brought also out in the slides is that in Estonia, Tartu has been one of the forerunners of the digitalization of local government. So we are 100% paperless government, and these digital solutions are also connected to the things we are doing with our green concepts. Just a bit about the challenges that we have in the Scandinavian area. We don't have earthquakes or tsunamis, but we have the same problems with heat waves and heavy floods. So us in Tartu, we have shared those topics into 5 different categories. We are developing digital planning tools to prevent those catastrophic results. We have done a lot with the renovation together with the green areas around the buildings. We are developing the urban nature, the mobility, and also the public spaces. And we are also part of 2 European Union missions towards climate neutrality, 100 climate neutral and smart cities, and also the climate adaptation mission. And these are the main points what we are keeping in mind in that sense when we are doing our everyday actions or strategic plans. And Tartu was also one of the first who developed our own climate and energy plan. But what have we done? Together with local inhabitants, but in cooperation with universities and our partnering cities, Aarhus and Riga as well, we have been carrying out one really, really interesting project called Urban Life Cycles that has been going on, started in 2022. And the goal for that project is to grow biodiversity in the center of the city. You can see on the map, this is the map of Tartu. We have many green areas, only 12% of them are in the project. But what we are doing in those green dots on the map is that we are developing together with universities the biodiversity there. We are monitoring how those different actions have been giving results, and we have already created a digital green twin pilot for that. So, and in this project, this is really, really important, the part of engaging the local inhabitants. What were the first things that happened in Tartu when what we did is that we changed the way we were every year cloning the grass in the center, or what species were placed in the local areas. And at first, there was really many complaints about that. Why we are doing these kind of changes? It is not good. It's not what we want in the center of the city. But the key there is cooperating with people. We have used them in different actions, as well as those actions can make clear why it is important to make our living environment better in the city, and also to raise awareness how nature in the city is important. We have also different projects all over the city, and as it was said before, making the city sustainable is not about the projects, but the projects that we have been carrying out and we will do in the future is helpful on this way. And one of the most interesting projects that we have in the area of, in a really big building area, together with local inhabitants, to make this area more sustainable in terms of floods and heat waves, is a Klimagen project where all the local inhabitants can also step in and say what they want to see in their area. Just some pictures from climate resilience projects in the city center, where we have tackled the problem of floodwaters and what is the result after it's been renovated in that sense, and added also the greenery there. And one more really important thing that what started in Estonia is famous of, it's our smart bike ride. We have been doing it since 2019. It's really, really popular. Almost, it's part of our public transportation system. And why I'm bringing it out in the context of making the city green is that if we have more accessibility via bikes, we don't need to have so many roads for cars, and we have nice places where you can go by bike. It's really, really important in that path. So to conclude, I want to point out that making cities sustainable and resilient is a systematic, long-term approach, and it's extremely important to do it together with the citizens. And on the whole, green cities are not about nature, but it's about the quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Kertu, for that presentation. So we had New Zealand, Taiwan, Latvia, Estonia, and now we have Italy. So Mayor Stefano from Torino, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Waiting for the slide, perfect. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today here in Tokyo at the GNet Summits. It's a pleasure to share Torino's experience in building a more sustainable and resilient city. Where we started. In 2019, Torino produces around 3 million tons of carbon dioxide emission per year. As you can see in the slide, emissions are distributed across key sectors, buildings and heating about 1/3, transport around 1/4, industry and services making up the most of the rest. This snapshot helps us clearly identify where to act first. This baseline gave us a clear direction, and we must transform how our city functions at every level. And to do that, we needed a clear and structured framework. Our response is structured through the Climate City Contract, built on 3 key components: commitments, an action plan, and an investment plan. These 3 elements are not separate, they work together as an integrated framework, because ambition without implementation is not enough. But a framework alone is not sufficient, it must be supported by a solid governance model. This transformation is guided by 3 pillars. First, process governance to manage complexity. Second, stakeholder engagement, because no city can achieve climate neutrality alone. We bring together institutions, companies, research centers, and citizens in a shared effort. And third, science-based support, ensuring that every decision is grounded in data and measurable impact. These pillars are the foundation that makes our strategy operational and credible. And this approach naturally led to the creation of a broad alliance across the city. Today, this effort is supported by a strong alliance. We have six signatories, 16 main partners, and 60 supporters. This broad coalition reflects a shared responsibility across the entire city ecosystem, because this is not just cooperation, but is a collective commitment to the future. To manage such a complex system, we also needed robust tools. To guide our action, we rely on the CLIC platform, which is the Climate City Contract platform. It allows us to evaluate impacts, analyze carbon dioxide emissions, simulate scenarios, and track progress over time. This tool transforms data into decision-making capacity, because climate policy must be transparent, measurable, and accountable. Our climate action plan includes 31 strategic actions from 2024 to 2030, and more than 230 operational actions already underway. And our work has been recognized at the European level with the EU emission label. This recognition is not only symbolic, it strengthens trust and enables further investment. And this strengthens our credibility and helps us attract investments and partnership. Finally, we believe that communication is essential. Through the Torino Cambia platform, we share progress, data, and results with our citizens. And we also support these with public communication campaign across the city. Because the ecological transition is not only technological, but is also social and cultural. Today in Torino, we are building more than 50 new kilometers of new cycle paths. We have planted 31,700 new trees. We are renovating public spaces, sports facilities, and libraries, and we are introducing 318 electrical buses. If we look to this table, we can see where these results come from, because different actions contribute in different ways. For example, public transport, energy efficiency, and green infrastructure all play an important role. But these numbers that are scientifically based are not always easy to be understood. And therefore, in order to communicate this impact clearly, we use equivalent indicators, which is the avoided carbon dioxide emission that we avoid by means of the tree equivalent, and the pollutants avoided by the car equivalent, that overall has been more understandable by our citizens. We do not stop on explaining the data, we bring it into the city. We share results through public campaigns. As you can see, we use simple visual in public spaces because people can see the change and understand it, because the ecological transition must be visible and close to the people. Let me conclude with a very simple idea. Cities are not on the front line of climate change, but they are also where solutions can happen faster. Today, I share numbers, plans, and results, but behind them, there is something more, which is a collective effort to change the way we live. Torino is doing its part, and together, cities can lead this transition. Thank you very much.
Mayor Stefano, thank you very much for that presentation. Now I would like to move on to the Q&A session. So I would like to start from you, Richard, from Auckland. When we talk about greenery in urban spaces, it involves land. And when it comes to land, the local government administration is always facing headache, the difficulty communicating with people, because obviously it means asset, and you need to actually modify these things. So as you and other cities have made that reform in improving greenery in the urban spaces, I would like to ask how you communicated with stakeholders, and if there's any encounter that you could share with us of some of the challenges that you faced along this way. Can you please share us that example?
Yeah, arigato, Togo. I think a lot of the time, some of the conversations are really easy. So people love trees. Communities love trees. People remember climbing trees when they're a child. People like to walk under the shade of trees. But when we're talking about dramatic change, climate change, emissions, sometimes people switch off. So I think the more we can talk about reducing emissions and having other co-benefits such as better air quality, less heat, more shade, less flooding, I think people start to understand what their communities can look like. And I think after the floods in 2023, unfortunately, people understood that we needed to move faster. So some people became angry that we weren't moving fast enough. And then when we get to changing what's happening in our community, so the picture I had before of the blue-green network, you know, that took a lot of consultation and work with the community. We've got another one with a large golf course that we are now turning into a flood detention wetland to hold about 10 times the amount of water. And that's been very controversial. It's a very popular golf course, so it will be reduced to 9 holes. There will be other issues there. But largely, when you bring the people together, so often standing as a politician at a public meeting, sometimes people are very angry. But if you can get around the table with the people who are most affected, our mana whenua, so our indigenous groups, to tell the stories of the water from hundreds of years ago. When you get children in the room, when you get the people who want this change, often the conversations do improve pretty quickly. So the anger and the sadness kind of leaves when people feel like they're moving together and can see the future. It is really hard to see the future, but seeing all the examples that have been posted today and yesterday, I think there's more examples of where communities can see what is possible. And I think we just keep needing to remind them of that.
Would you say that after you have commenced with some of the project and you see the tangible result, are you able to get more support from people easily?
Yes, definitely. I mean, cost is always a factor, so people always want to know how much will it cost, will the taxes or property rates go up for me? But I think, sadly, with these extreme weather events, people are starting to see the cost of doing nothing is far greater than the cost of doing these projects. So people understand they may need to pay a bit more now to protect the communities and the things they love for the future generations, for their children and grandchildren. So if you keep telling those stories in a more, I guess, personal way to people, then often they're able to move and change their mind. But it is hard with everything else going on in the world right now. To get people focused on these projects can be quite difficult. But I think there's a lot of hope in this room, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to move on to New Taipei, Ms. Fumei. So you showed us in the map how New Taipei is like a donut, and you have connection with other districts in the region. And you are also building the new building, but as well as Green Line, you're making a green city from that activity. And we just heard from Richard how you communicate with citizens mainly, but in your case, how do you cooperate with other municipalities, other communities in the surrounding areas? Could you share us an example from that?
Thank you. That's a great question. Our mayor, Hou You-yi, leads with a big picture, focusing on cross-region and cross-department collaboration. He values working with our neighbors, so our planning has no borders. First, we see the second administration building as a starting point for this urban oasis by linking it with the 424-hectare Metropolitan Park. We have built the largest riverside green corridor in northern Taiwan. Second, we have integrated our MRT and the cycling networks to bridge the gaps between the different nodes. This not only connects the main parts of the greater Taipei area, but also makes eco-friendly commuting a daily option for millions of people living here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to move on to Liga. Vice Mayor, you mentioned about some of the very interesting examples, and I want to focus on two examples. One is the participatory budget you mentioned. I think it's very challenging for local government to open up its own budget for citizens to consider. Could you tell us what kind of projects were created through this participatory budget? Please.
Yeah, usually the way the municipal system works is, civil servants decide, which streets to build, which parks to improve, and then the councillors decide, and then it's being implemented. But the philosophy of participatory budget is the opposite. Is the people. It's a bottom-up approach. People and places in communities, they know better what they need, and they can come up with their ideas, projects, and then Commission evaluates. And of course, some projects of their scale and idea should be implemented by city administration because of the, administrative standards, building standards, etc., procurement rules. But there are many initiatives which can be done by people themselves, and municipality just need to provide a part of finance or materials or whatever. And in this way, you build communities which participate, which take care about their vicinities. And they're beautiful projects, you know, parks, coastal improvements, playgrounds, you know, just place to sit for the elderly, all kind of small things which make place theirs. And also people feel that their voice is important. And I think it's a good thing for cities to do.
No, I think it's fantastic. I think it's symbolic, and I think it really reaches the people and understand people that they're part of the city administration. So I think that's fantastic. One other point that I actually read from your presentation is that you focus on economic incentives, and you also mentioned about the property tax reduction. Could you tell us a bit more about that? Because there's been some activity here in Japan as well about how to kind of incentivize by creating a system to reduct the tax. How are you planning this to happen in your city?
Yeah, this has it covers broad issues. Let's say old buildings, or historical site buildings, they should be restored in a way not to destroy the value, the historical value, and there's need for certain compensation. And what concerns also the modern buildings, we expect them to be energy efficient, sustainable, friendly to the climate, CO2 emissions, and also greenery. So this roof greenery or vertical greenery, it's a costly thing. It's a thing which needs to be maintained. And we live in a climate with harsh winters and hot summers, and it is a cost, but it's a benefit to the society. So in 2024, we made a change in regulation that there is a 50% tax reduction, real estate tax reduction for the projects which fulfill the BREEAM and LEED certification system. So it's third-party certification. And we are just in the beginning, but there are few projects which have been approved. And it works. Businesses also want carrot.
No, I think it's fantastic. We often talk about lack of finance, but this tax incentive reduction can work as an incentive. I mean, I should be careful how to say it, but without city administration to put additional cost, additional budget to support the project itself. So I think it has a very huge potential to be further implemented in other parts of the world. Thank you very much for that. I would like to move on to Ms. Kertu from Tartu. You mentioned also about fantastic projects on how you actually expand the greenery. And I like when you said that when you expand the greenery, we need to have people to enjoy that. And you've actually made a cycling lane so that people can actually enjoy the effect, the outcome of what you have done as city administration. Here in Japan, we recently had a legislation change where the cyclists need to kind of fundamentally ride a bike on the road, whereas previously it was a little bit vague kind of situation where people rode on the pedestrian as well. So I would like to ask, from that perspective, how did you kind of create this infrastructure for the cycling and pedestrians to kind of coexist in the right way? Could you please share us your example and experience?
Yeah, this is an ongoing journey in that sense that it's similar in Estonia. If you have a bike lane, you should bike on a bike lane, but we still have those streets in the older part of Tartu, for example, where we don't have special bike lanes, so the bikes might end up also in the pedestrian road. And this is a really huge challenge right now for us in that sense as well, that our city bikes are electrical bikes. Electrical bikes weight more, so if you have an accident with pedestrian and the bike, the results are quite bad. And also the scooters that have been on the streets for like years for now, and those new electrical cycles as well. So what we are trying to do is to develop as much as possible those separate bike lines. But if you ask what it's right according to the law in Estonia, with the bike you can ride on the those on the roads, but with the scooter you shouldn't. And this also something that needs to be changed. I read that in Latvia, I think there was a change recently because those really speeding scooters are a problem in the pedestrian roads, but also in the normal roads, it's not really efficient. So it is an ongoing process. We have in Tartu, we have a huge community of bikers who are also giving us advice. So we are using their input as well, and yeah, trying to use also all the possibilities from EU financing to support this sustainable mobility.
How did you communicate these agendas? Did you have a participatory kind of process?
Yes, we have similar things that also Riga brought out. We had a citizen assembly in 2022, and it was focusing especially on sustainable mobility. So different things that we have done were brought out there. We also have the participatory budgeting. That was we were the first in Estonia who started it. It's really, really popular. And when it comes to communication, it's really important to point out that the messages that the city is giving out and are understandable for the inhabitants, in that sense that if we are talking about carbon neutrality, this doesn't say much to an average citizen. So it's really, we do a lot of these really, really simple explanations. And when it comes to these urban life cycle projects that are visible on the parks, we have added a lot of different labels to understand why we are doing this, what is going on here. And we have also created together with the university, we have also a digital platform, but we have like a study road on those parks to give our inhabitants new knowledge from that. So we use different forms of communication.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor of that. And I think that leads very nicely to you, Mayor Stefano, that you mentioned about the communication and how it's important. But I want to ask about the citywide alliance that you mentioned. I think with your strong leadership, you've able to draw so many supporters, the actual actors who are actually implementing the project in your city. How did you create that? Could you share us your wisdom on how you have managed to do that in your city?
But this is the most important things in order to make a reliable strategy, which is the creation of the working group just around the Climate City Contract, because the Climate City Contract is one very extensive document, but could be effective only in the case in which we have signatories, companies, stakeholders that with the city sign the list of action that they have to put in force to take the climate neutrality targets. We stress a lot this kind of tool during the discussion of the Climate City Contract. In order to be effective, one of the key points was to be very, very strong in terms of scientific robustness of the data related to the actions. In a very short presentation, I highlight tables that are summarizing what is the effects of our action, but behind any of that figure, there are the very strong scientific commitment with the Politecnico di Torino, which is the university that engage with this kind of activity. And this is very important to take, especially private company, to be on board. Second point is related to the communication campaign that we perform and stress, especially in the initial phase of the sharing of action that have more impact on the population, because we have a list of action hundreds of actions that most are not, some of them are not related to the lifestyle in the city, such as the retrofitting of the buildings and so on and so on, but others are really impacting the life of the touring community. And therefore, it's quite important to stress also the communication campaign in order to have a very extensive, wide awareness about the city, about the citizens, about the environmental benefits of what we are doing. And focusing on it, on communication campaign, we stress the way in which they understand what we are doing. Because it's really complicated in terms of technical transfer to share this kind of technical figure to the real concrete way, due to the fact that we calculate what is the carbon dioxide emission action per action, but we also calculate what is the pollutants air reduction action by action. So we transfer, we convert these kind of numbers in figures into equivalent trees. Because we have thousands of physical trees that we plant. That is quite clear to be look in the parks in many, many areas. But there are equivalent trees, that is what is the translation of this reduction in carbon dioxide emission, and from the side of the carbon dioxide, and from the side of pollutants, because we have a very bad quality of air, as the Walpole Plain, is the reduction in terms of cars, because a diesel car. And these figures were really important because we translate any of action in this kind of figures, and people understand very well what is happening. So action that could be, for instance, to make a pedestrian area, that we calculate what is the reduction in terms of carbon dioxide induced by the change, or for the change for the fleet of the buses, we convert this kind of carbon dioxide emission reduction in equivalent trees. And it was really, really effective, as well as it was effective to be based on scientific way for the engagement of the private company in the city.
Fantastic. I think doing my work as a local government network, I think I've seen this for the last few years. There's a growing budget allocation to communication by the local governments. And I think local governments are realizing that it's so important to communicate proper outcome and the outline of what project is in order to kind of obtain support, but as well as to have the solidarity of the people and understanding where the city is going together. So I think that's a new kind of direction I think a lot of cities around the world are moving towards. Now, I think we have a slight time to squeeze in. So I want to ask one of you, one by one, to give one sentence about what you have learned in Tokyo or what you want to bring back to your city by this experience participating in Tokyo. Richard.
I've learned that many of our experiences are the same, that actually working together across cities across the world makes a lot of difference, and I think that we can all be doing more, but learning from each other will help.
Fantastic. Fumei-san?
I think the city can combine smart governance with nature to create a safer and a better place to live. Thank you.
Fantastic. Vice Mayor Maris?
I think what I understood is that we really share one planet, we share same values, and we all work for the same goals, and this unites us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Deputy Mayor Kertu?
I was really amazed on how in detailed way those different scenarios of, for example, disasters are thought through, and how well and clearly explained they are. I got the materials for the municipality, and this is really, really important to give the message to the inhabitants that we know how to act in those very difficult situations, and we have a lot to learn from other cities, from Tokyo, from all those who have spoken today or yesterday, that we don't need to invent a new bicycle, it's already there. We just need to be open to those new information and new contacts outside. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And finally, Mayor Stefano.
Because the challenge of climate change contrast is to be unified and united in our cities and among cities. And this is the very important lesson. We are not alone, but we stay joined together in order to stress this very important topic for the world.
Thank you very much. With that, I would like to conclude this session. I would like all of you to join me in applauding for the contribution by the speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone. And now we'd like to proceed to the photo session. So would you please line up at the center stage? Thank you very much. And this concludes the photo session. Now please give another round of applause for speakers and moderators. Thank you very much.